guys. Tight end U, Iowa, Sam LaPorta. Coach Steve has him fifth. Our guests, Dan and Brian, have him both fourth collectively. All righty. Brian, I'll let you get the first shot on this one. I don't
Yeah.
really
So
want
one thing to think about when you're watching LaPorta or looking at stats with LaPorta is that as much as Iowa is tight end U, it wasn't exactly offense U. I forget the number that I heard like last week about the number of passing touchdowns the entire offense had all season.
8.
Like, yeah, there you go. Like it was putrid. Yeah. So, think about that when you're thinking about LaPorta. This is the guy you want, right? And he's in a great pocket for us. He is the new tight end for the NFL at 6'3", 245, and athletic and fast, 4.5, 940, right? He is, I think, well-rounded and safe and good floor and pro-ready, good enough blocker and good enough hands to probably get out there right away. You've seen him make some difficult catches with some questionable quarterback play sometimes. I think he might be one of those guys, and I'm going to talk about another guy later on like this too, where his blocking is like good enough to like get in the pros now, where it may actually slow down his fantasy football receiving production, which is kind of like it's a good trait of his that's going to end up being bad for us. But this is, I think, where when I said like, I have my top 5 and then it's everybody else, this is where we're getting into the guys that I'm really excited about. And the other reason he's in a good pocket for us, and I'll shut up after this, is that he's really not going until late 3rd or 4th round in mocks at the moment, right? And I don't expect that to get too much helium based on his expected draft capital, because there's a good 3 or 4 guys ahead of him. And why that's a good pocket is rookie tight ends from the rookie draft to like the first year or so, most of them actually lose value, right? And so the guys that lose the least or do gain value tend to be the later guys, right? And so because the acquisition cost is so low, right? So grab yourself a LaPorta or a Musgrave that we're going to talk about, in like the 3rd or 4th round instead, or maybe like, some 0 RB guys again, instead of that, like the 6th or 7th wide receiver on your team, because you kind of liked him as a sleeper, like I love Jonathan Mingo, right? But if I don't like where he ends up, and LaPorta's on the board, tight end premium, I'm probably taking LaPorta.
Yeah, and just to reinforce that point of how bad that Iowa offense was last year, there was the game Iowa versus Minnesota. I don't know if you guys remember this at all, but during college football season, I do a lot of sports betting, and the total line was set at 14.5. Not for just Iowa, like for both teams. So 2 touchdowns. The game finished as a shootout. It was 13-10. But so the Iowa offense was not clicking on all cylinders. But I'll tell you what was clicking on all cylinders was LaPorta and his broken tackles and his yards after catch. He was just like, I don't want to say electric with the ball in his hands, because he's not looking like Tank Dell out there. He's not looking like Bijan Robinson out there. But for an athletic tight end, he was making all the moves that he needed to make people miss, to break tackles, and, to be an asset in the receiving game. And we've seen TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Noah Fant, the other tight ends coming out of this program have all been, kind of yards after catch type of guys. And this is like a perfect fantasy football type of tight end. And like Brian was saying, he's not, now who knows, after this show, as we get closer to the draft, things might change, but he's not like part of people's big 3 for the most part. He's going kind of after all those players, and it's a good value, because I talk about on a lot of mock drafts shows I do, I don't want to grab the 1st or 2nd tight end. I'll let the value of a LaPorta or one of the players we're going to speak about shortly, a couple picks later, just come to me. And because tight ends rookie year, it's such a it's such a crapshoot that I'd rather just take the lesser investment for the same chance of getting plus level asset.
Dan, the question is, did you take the over and win?
No, I'm sick. I took the under.
Oh man.
Yeah, imagine sweating a 13-10 football game in November.
It's crazy because like they're like 60, 80 point over unders. Coach Steve, low man, finishes off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I'm a low man. I mean, I am in terms of the three of us in our rankings, but I really do like LaPorta. I have him as a really potential big sleeper at the next level. You guys kind of said a lot of great things about him. You know, he's got the athleticism, forced missed tackles was fantastic, can catch the ball and run very well after the catch. A lot of great traits. Again, if I want to say some negative, I guess he had 14 drops over his 3 seasons there at Iowa. I mean, the offense was terrible, though. I mean, he led the team in receiving 3 out of the 4 years he was there. That's how bad this Iowa offense was. And, you know, functional strength, you could use a little bit more of that, you know, in contested catch situations. Definitely saw some struggles there at times. The NFL is going to be a little bit bigger and faster to handle. So hopefully that it can be just worked up a little bit with coaching, but he's a tight end I am definitely targeting later in drafts if he falls to the right team, or what, even if he doesn't. I mean, I think he has the talent to kind of oversee any kind of struggles in terms of, unless he goes really late in the NFL draft, he's going to be a really good tight end that everyone should